It is toast.
Oh,
What do you have for us?
speaking of pregnant women, what was my
What?
series? Oh, so what series did I watch? Reborn to Master the Blade from Hero King to Extraordinary Squire, also known as AUO. Like,
Yeah, so this is a light novel original. The Japanese title is full title is Eiyo Bu o Kiyomeru Tame Tensei-Su. そして世界最強の皆歴史. So
yes,
this is the short term, the short abbreviation for this is AUO, literally in just like those letters. But obviously, if you read it straight, that it's pronounced AUO or Hero King,
I
right?
can't
So
believe
which
it
is the
took
beginning of the title.
Spire months, or was it weeks,
Yeah,
to figure out
no, it was.
that.
Well, I wasn't
Years.
thinking about it
Years.
years. I was just pondering over this title. But yeah, I was just before the podcast. I looked at the title AUO and I was thinking, wait, why did they call it AUO? While I was looking at the Japanese title, I was staring at the Japanese title and thinking, why is the abbreviation AUO? And then I like pronounced it in my head, and I immediately just I was just like, you guys can call me out. I'm like the dumbest person here. I apologize.
This
But
guy
yeah, if you just
obviously
read that,
isn't
it's
a
you.
Fate fan. If he watched Fate, he would know
But yeah,
Gilgamesh is the
it's
AUO, who's also a Hero King. But yeah, so so how you like isekais, right?
depends on the person
How
here. I
many
don't
how
think
many how many reincarnation isekais do you like? Because I can name
how many.
0.
3 right off the bat.
Some
So
of them a decent amount.
so the series starts off with this dude, AUO Inglis. Inglis, get it? Yeah, Inglis with an I. He's
Hmm.
the hero king of what's Silvare, and he's like, "Oh, I'm an old man on my deathbed," and people are like, "Oh, hero king, please no, don't die." He's like, "Too late. I'm dying. I've lived a good life. The rest is up to you." Wait a minute. Yeah. Okay. So on his deathbed, he's like, "Oh, I'm dying, I guess." And then he meets the goddess Alicia, and he's like, "Oh, hey, goddess. It's been a while." He's like, "Hey, you. You were a good hero king and all that past life, and you did good deeds. So I'm going to reincarnate you. You want anything?" And he's all like, "Oh, not really. I lived a good life, but my one regret is that I lived a life as as a
A man.
divine knight of the goddess and did many cool things and founded this kingdom, but I never
Two.
really got to fulfill my goal of being a strong martial artist because I had to settle for being a
Oh
king."
right. That was his dream.
And she's like,
Yes.
"Okay, I'll reincarnate you. Good luck." And he's like, "Thanks." And then apparently he drew the short end of the genetic lottery, because when he reincarnates like an indefinite amount of time later, he's now a girl. What
Oh
what are
my
the chances?
god.
What are the chances of being a girl instead of a dude when you reincarnate? Like,
50-50, really.
are you sure?
Yeah.
Are
Depends
you
on the
sure?
god you fucked with.
Yeah.
Or is it really 50-50? I thought it was like no, it's a 51-50, is it not? Due to the chromosome
I
thing.
I guess, yeah, sure.
So yeah, he got the 49% like losing ticket, so he became a girl. He's like, "Oh," so he's like a 0-year-old child, and still got all his memories and stuff. Then he gets attacked by a dragon. He's like, "Oh, cool, a dragon," and he kills it as a child because his power as a divine knight is he takes aether into his body and converts it to mana, and he like shoots spells and stuff. He shot a beam. It was pretty cool. Well, I guess she shot a beam. It was pretty cool. So he killed a monster as a baby, but no one knows. Don't worry about it. And then so basically the background of the time period he lives in is that technology has regressed to the point where people who live on the land or whatever have lost their ability to sense mana and whatnot. So
This is so wait. Can I ask something? So is this so you know how this is a standard thing of the power regression, right? Like when they reincarnate, there's less.
technology
He
has
was super power.
degraded, yes,
Yeah.
for the
So
civilization.
did it degrade due to peaceful times, or was there like an apocalyptic thing that they're going to come
No
back to in
one
the story,
knows
or
as
what?
of yet, but
Okay.
basically, well, he's reincarnated after an unknown amount of time. So how people
Oh.
how people deal with it is they have these runes, you see. So there's 4 types of runes: special rune, greater rune, common rune, and a lesser rune. And during their coming of age ceremony, is it like 12-ish? I don't know. I think 8, maybe 8. I don't remember what year, but like when you go to the church and you put your hands on this rune box, and what the rune box is it tunes your mana wavelength to
Mm.
appropriate type, so you can wield an artifact, which is like this special weapon which you can use to defeat the magicite beasts. Oh, magicite is it has to do with this rainbow rain that falls every so often. It's not harmful to humans or whatnot, but it turns the flora and fauna into monsters. So, job as a knight is to take your rune, take up an artifact, and defeat these magicite beasts. But when Inglis, because apparently that's his her well now her reincarnated name, but everyone calls her Chris, so I'm gonna call her Chris. That's her nickname. So when Chris puts her hand in the rune box, she's like, "Oh, you're trying to temper my mana, right? Well, that doesn't work because I've got Aether, and my mana's already so strong, so it bounces off." When she pulls her hand out of the rune box, she doesn't have a rune, so she's a runeless
Yeah.
knight. Get it? Get it? Have you heard? It's just like the other series. But yeah, so she doesn't have a rune, but her cousin, because her cousin, what's her name? Rafina gets a rune, and she's like, "Oh, because I'm a runeless, I can't become a knight in my knight family because she was born to like a knight family. Cool, I guess. But I can be your squire." So that's the whole reason with this series is, or that's the whole thing with the series is, she's a runeless knight, but and so she can't be a knight, but she can become a squire to her cousin Rani, because that's her nickname, Rafina to Rani, and that's her whole purpose of being now is just like the other 3 other isekai series where you suddenly have the weakest crest. What is it called? What is that series called? The strongest sage with the weakest crest. She's runeless, but she can defeat magicite beasts. So that's the entire premise of this series, in a way.
Is it episodic or like what's happening? Mini arcs?
It's pretty straightforward. The whole thing about the whole thing with the main character's reasoning for wanting to become, for wanting to become reincarnated is, oh, now they don't have ties to anything. Now I can become the strongest. Like I'm no longer a king. I can become the strongest swordsman in the world, or something like that. So it's a pretty super generic uh, goal that she set for herself. And now that she can't become a knight, that's fine. She didn't want to become higher up in the hierarchy anyway, because if she gets too strong, or if she has the strongest crest, then she might become a king again, and she didn't want that. So having no rune is great for her. Now
So
she can
is this
run free all she wants.
so is most of the series kind of limited to her being in the academy and event like is
No,
going on like
Academy,
quests every
no.
once in a while or yeah, okay. So she actually goes around to
So
like different regions and stuff like that.
the main focus of this series is just her fighting, whatnot. Her goal is just to fight the strongest people in the land and like go become the strongest swordsman. That's literally it. She doesn't she doesn't want to become like a king or whatever. She just wants to fight strong people, and that's the character's main motivation throughout this entire series, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And like there's this overarching plot that about the Magicite beast, where it comes from and whatnot. There's also this other faction. Okay, so remember when I said that the people in the land have degraded mana, so they can't exactly. So it takes a special kind of knight, aka these guys who use runes and artifacts to fight these Magicite beasts. Well, they get them from these people who apparently live on floating islands called floating islands of Hyrule or whatever. No, they live in the Highland. That's them, the Highland. And then the people who live them are Highlanders. And these Highlanders are the ones get it because they live high in the sky.
Yes, yes, I
So
understand.
they're the ones who provide like the technology and the means to fight the Magicite beasts to the commoners living down low, and then the commoners have to pay tribute to whatnot to them in order to get their stuff. So I mean, there's that. So the bad guys or the what is it? Um, the evil organization, I guess, that oppresses the people who live on the surface world while they stand there in the lofty floating islands and whatnot. And then there's this evil rebellion group against them. Guess they're the good guys, but not really. They're called the Blood Chain Brigade. And what they do is they use something called prism powder, which is, I guess, an extract obtained from magicite beasts. That's not hard. Like again, it's not like most of the magic stone stuff. Magicite is harmless to humans, but apparently it affects the Highlanders and turns them into evil monsters and whatnot. So the the Blood Chain Brigades focus, because they're the bad guys, is they deal with Highlanders and like they turn them to magicite beasts. They're trying to overthrow them,
Okay.
so they can spread the technology to the common people, so they don't have to pay tribute to the evil Highlanders, the evil nobles of the world
Ah, okay.
and whatnot. So it's pretty generic if you think about it.
Yeah, it's pretty standard developments there.
And the whole
Um,
thing, but the whole thing with the main character though is she doesn't care about any of this.
oh, okay.
She
Well, how
literally
does she
fights.
respond
She
to it?
literally fights everyone. It's like I don't care. You're strong. I'll fight you.
Oh,
And everyone's
that's
like,
actually more
"Oh,
interesting.
really?"
That's actually an interesting aspect of it because it's like if the character started out as a premise of, oh, I'm just going to become the strongest warrior, and then it became a very standard, I'm going to be the good guy and save whoever, that'd be one thing. But the fact that she responds, or he, or whatever, responds in such a way where she's so hell bent on just fulfilling the idea of becoming the strongest warrior that she just says, "I'm gonna freaking fight everybody." That's an actual interesting
That was
story
pretty
trope.
funny because there was this plot in I think episode 2 where
Mhm.
her and her cousin Ronnie were attending a like a social gathering, the coming of age thing, and there was a
Mhm.
Highlander there, and the Highlander was previously some guy they met a couple of years ago, who was like a merchant on the surface, and he paid enough money to the Highlanders to become a Highlander herself, and they taught him magic and whatnot. So like he's abusing his power. He killed someone, and she was like, "Oh, I want this woman," and then the main character is like, like, I'll go at her place instead, and he's like, fine, I'll fine, come to my mansion at late at night and whatnot, and then she goes to his mansion alone, and then so I think some holy knight stops her. He's like, what are you doing? Like, don't you see what you don't give up your life for this? And she's like, oh, like this is the only, and then the main character is like, oh, this is the only way I can deal with this. And so the holy knight lady, which is they call her a Hyrule menace. I don't know what that means. I think it has something to do with like artifacts. Like they're special artifact users. Not. And she's like the artifact user's like, oh, if you won't listen to reason, then I'll have to stop you here. And she pulls out her swords. The main character is like, oh, you threatened me, didn't you? So you're challenging me to a fight. Then they start fighting, and I was like, oh, because they're both trying to do the same thing, like to stop the Highlander guy, but since the Hyrule Menace chick called her out and was trying to trying to intimidate the main character into backing down. The main character was like, "Oh, you want to fight? I'll fight you," and then they start fighting, even though they're on the same side, I guess. So that was fun.
So
She literally she
I
fights everyone. She's neutral-ish in a way,
uh,
but
I I think honestly that's probably the only real side of even just this genre in general that I like, where I think I've never been very impressed with these sorts of series. This series or like that other one series where the old man wakes up as the young girl like wizard or whatever, and
I
she has
hated
to
that series.
pretend that that series. I've never really been impressed with these sorts of series, but I do like the fact that at least with this series, there's that aspect of really pushing that premise of like I'm gonna fight everyone. The only other one that I've kind of liked was, and the only one that I sort of kept up with, what back when I was reading a lot more web light novels and web novels, was Bunimi, right? You know that one. Bunimi o Sasuke te 104年 エルフでやり直すやり直す武者修行. That one, the web novel where the really old elf, or yeah, the old not elf, but the really old human martial arts master dude dies, becomes like an elf boy, and then just really kind of just runs around and tries to fight everybody, right? That one is the other one that I kind of like, but I do like sort of that part of that premise, but I've always found that these series have a hard time with really extending that, where everything else is just very standard, like isekai happenings. So it is a little bit unfortunate, but
So
it
yeah,
is kind of what
so
you get
there's
with fan
supposed to
fiction.
be some, I guess, even though the main character is like this, like I'll fight everyone, no matter. Like I don't care about because all the all the main villains are like, wow, if you're this strong, why don't you help me? Why aren't you on the side of justice? And she's like, I don't care about justice anymore. I've already experienced a life of justice. I just want to fight, become stronger, and
Uh-huh.
whatnot. So,
Again, I think that's honestly more interesting than the standard sort of setup, to be honest.
like
So I
the
do
the
like that.
only she's still on the side of good because of her cousin.
Hmm.
Because she's acting as a squire for her cousin, so her cousin's actually the boss. So
Okay,
if she
okay.
wants the main character to do something, she's like, hey, she's like, all right, I'll do as you command. Like whatever you want to do, I'll help you out with it because that's her cousin and whatnot. Also, she's like the only character that her her cousin's the only character that she likes in a way, like,
Hmm.
but not like romantically. Don't it's not lesbian yet. He mentions that because I'm an old man in a chick's body, even though I'm super hot. It's like he treats Ronnie like a granddaughter, really. So it's not weird yet. Don't worry, they're 15. It could change. I don't know. Maybe not. But yeah, so
Okay.
Ronnie acts as like the moral compass of the two. Like, we gotta help people. And she's like, all right, I guess. So there's that.
Okay.
But yeah,
Anything?
the main main drive of this series is the fights, because the main character
Mhm.
gets into a fight with anyone strong. Like I mentioned earlier that there's this magic powder that turns Highlanders into magic side beasts. So she's like, "Oh, I'll fight this beast," and she fights this beast, and then there's the Blood Chain Brigade, who's like, "Oh, we're gonna free the oppressed people from the Highlanders." And then there was this chick who was spot on, like, "Oh, are you on the side of justice?" She's like, "I don't care. You're in my way." So they start fighting. That was cool.
Mhm.
But yeah, this
And
series'
you
main draw, you come there for the fight scenes with the main character. That's it. Really,
uh,
pretty
any words on
lackluster
the
story and whatnot.
audiovisuals?
Uh, this this anime is made by Studio Comet. It's kind of weird
Yes.
if you think about it.
Their they actually do have a lot of experience under their belt. Surprisingly, I keep forgetting they although they are mainly were they previously more of a 3D CG, but they
No.
they are both back.
Oh,
Yeah, they didn't even do 3D CGI, but they're taking over that for this series. But they did do stuff like Chikuboebu, Cute High Earth Defense Club, I believe some of that. I don't know whether they did the first season of that, but they definitely did the later seasons. They
funnily enough,
did,
I believe this Studio Comet, is the one where I watched the most sports anime from.
yeah.
Weird.
Apparently, they
It's
also helped with Initial D as
yeah.
well. They
Initial
did
D,
Jill
I'd
Pet,
count
yeah,
that as sports anime. Initial D's CG in first stage kind of sucky.
yeah,
Also,
yeah,
Kakuta. I've watched Kakuta. That's pretty good.
yeah.
And what else?
They've surprisingly done a very
This
a
is an
lot
old
of series.
studio.
Yeah.
School Rumble. Damn, that's old.
Yeah.
So I guess this is their first return to. Would you call this mainstream? Is Isekai mainstream?
Well, I
In
mean,
a while,
Isekai is
because
mainstream, but I don't know whether I would call
I wouldn't
this
call I
mainstream.
wouldn't call this series mainstream, but Studio
Yeah.
Comet's mostly done what are these, like, kids shows for a while, for a long
Yeah,
time.
kid
So
shows helped out with helped out on the side stuff with rent a girlfriend with what else is here with some other stuff I think, but yeah, the mostly kids stuff recently I think. Jewel Pet.
but
Yeah.
yeah, so this is an odd studio. Suzuka. Ugh. Ugh.
You can't win them all, especially if you've been in the industry for this long. But yeah,
Audio
any last words
visuals,
on this one?
I'll say
Yeah.
it's at the benchmark of an average isekai. It's probably like one or
Grim.
two
That's
stages
grim.
higher. Definitely, like, what would I call the the average isekai ish?
Is it better or
Uh,
worse than a Studio White Fox series?
what isekais have they done?
Uchi Musume?
Which one was it?
Uchi no, if it's for my daughter, I'd even defeat a
Oh,
demon lord.
yeah,
Wasn't
it's
that White
about that
Fox?
level. It's about that level,
Okay.
so it's pretty good. They also Shincho Yuchi. They also did the Cautious Hero, right? Yeah. Um, Grimoire Zero. Yeah, that's a good benchmark spire. That's like I'd rate that studio.
Oh, Grimoire of Zero-ish? Okay.
I'd rate that studio like a 7 or 8 on the isekai like
On the
animation
isekai
tier.
scale?
Yeah,
Okay.
5 being maybe the cell phone one, or it was cell phone,
Oof,
smartphone,
okay.
isekai smartphone, or
That makes
that
sense within the scale, though. That makes sense within
isekai cheat
the
magician.
scale.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
definitely on the higher end. The
Okay.
fight scenes, the fight scenes look way better than the scenes where they're not fighting. So you can definitely see where they put the budget, because there's a lot
Okay.
better shading and uh, facial features compared to when they're in the daytime. They're just sitting around like talking. So they got the
Yeah.
priorities straight. Voice
Yeah, I
actors,
mean
I don't.
that's better than the reverse where it's like they would have just characters talking or just flipping their hair and during slice of life scenes, and then the action scenes are just terrible. That will suck much more than what they have right now, at least. So
The So the voice actors, the only three that I can take notice of are the main character, which is
Mhm.
Karikito. If you don't know,
Akarikito.
is
If you do not know her, you
probably
should.
if you don't know who she is, she's the voice actor of What's the name of the chick in Tonikaku Kawaii? I don't remember her name.
She's done main roles
Tsukasa? Yeah,
in
Tsukasa. Yeah,
yes, Zombieland
Tonikaku
Saga, as well
Kawaii.
as she did uh Demon Slayer stuff. So it's
Really? Oh, she's Nezuko. I've never heard of who's
yes,
Nezuko.
she's you, you just
Man,
realize now that Akira is that this is part of why she even blew up because she got Zombieland Saga and then just a little bit after she got Demon Slayer.
man,
Like
she doesn't talk.
she went from
Nezuko
she went
doesn't talk.
from she went from she was still popular before obviously Zombieland Saga as well as Demon Slayer, but she went from from being merely popular to being ridiculously popular,
Oh man.
becoming essentially an S list Seiyu in a matter of
Oh right, I
probably
forgot
months.
she was the blonde chick in Blend S. Yeah, that's her most
Yeah,
famous role.
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. That's yeah.
And then there's a Kakuma Ai. I've never heard of this person either.
Come on, it's also pretty famous.
She's so famous. Name one of her roles.
Uh, I forget one of her.
Let's see.
Uh, she had a role in Genshin, right? Because I remember one of her interviews.
Genshin. I don't
I
play Genshin.
forget,
Um,
but yeah. Anyways, any last
and then
words on the series?
there's this one chick, this tomboyish chick. I believe it was there was that spear chick that she was fighting that the main character was fighting that one time. Who had a pretty deep voice. Kitamura Eri. I don't know who this is either. Sounds kind of familiar though.
Nobody.
I
Yeah,
think
Yeah,
nobody.
just a random person in the industry.
I think she was. I believe she voiced the dude in Yaruko. I. That's
Yes,
like the
that
only
is one of
role I
the.
remember.
Anyways, any last words on the series?
Oh, all right. She was also Uni. Uni's a cool character. Yeah. Anyway, this series, I'll rate it pretty good.
Pretty
Pretty good.
good,
I
pretty
came in.
decent.
I came into this series like I just want some cool isekai fights, and I got what I wanted. Some cool isekai
Okay.
fights. With It's definitely better than what the other series where he was like, oh, where the main character is touted as a battle junkie, but
Mhm.
the animation was horrible and the story is pretty bad too. What is it? Black Summoner? Yeah, Black Summoner sucks compared to this. Also, this series is all about the chicks because all the main characters are chicks.
Okay.
There's literally the main character is a chick. The knight that she serves is a chick. There's some other chick with twin tails. Both of the Hyrule Menaces so far were chicks. Uh, there's some dude knight, but who cares? Also, her cousin named Raphael. The name Raphael? Yeah, Raphael or Wrath. He's a dude who has like, oh, he has the special rune that qualifies him to be a hero. Who cares about him? There was some
Okay.
there was some subplot like, oh, they're all cousins. So Ronnie was like, hey, Chris, if you marry my cousin, we can become friends forever. And she's like, ew, no way, that's kind of gay, because he's a dude. He still identifies as a dude, so it's like, ew, thanks. I like women, so yeah.
Okay. Well,
That,
yeah.
that does
I
pose
guess.
some moral problems. If you reincarnate as a chick, but you still think like a dude, is it gay? No, well, it's kind of gay both ways. If like, there's no winning here, is there? Because if you suddenly like dudes, then you're gay, you're homosexual. But if you like chicks now, even though you're a chick, lesbian,
What the
you
fuck
know,
are you talking about?
All right.
near,
The
near,
quandaries of man, dude.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's
All right.
it's it's the futa thing all over again. But yeah,
Anyways,
I took notice of this series because it's drawn by a pretty cool artist. If you don't know, it's Nagu. If you don't know who Nagu is, they've basically drawn art for every mobile game that's popular right now. Name one, and I bet you Nagu's in there. Fake Grand Order, Azure Lane, Girls Frontline. Is she in Arc Knights? I believe the cat girl in Arc Knights, that's hers. She's pretty prolific. She's also done animation work for Onimai. And apparently, episode 2,
yes.
if you see the Guilty Gear Strive stuff, that's her playing. Ha ha ha. So,
And you can see a lot of her material on her Twitter as well if you want to check it out.
so
It's
good
it's
on her.
Furry.
Yeah, good on her for having good art. Oh, I mean, she also draws some light novel art other than this. I forgot the other series. But yeah, pretty prolific. What can I say? I like this person's art. What would I rate this series? You know what? I'll give it a solid 8 out of 10. Just turn your brain off, watch some cool fights, cute girls doing cute things in an isekai. Definitely way better than when a dude does it. Because, like, your black-haired Kirito, overpowered main character. Strong, like,
Okay.
it's definitely better than Strongest Sage with the weakest crest. Don't watch that. It's definitely better than series, the one with the orange eyes.
I don't know.
The one where the dude was like, "Oh, I'm this overpowered sage, and I defeat the demon lord, but they don't like me, so I reincarnated 200 years later." You know what I'm talking about, right?
Uh, oh yeah, I think I do. I just forget the name of it. But yeah. Anyways, I do have to move
There we
on.
go. I found it. It's
What is it? What is it?
I don't know. Yeah, the reincarnation magician of the inferior eyes. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll just
no, I
say
don't know that one.
it's definitely better because if you're in watching isekai for cute girls doing cute things, it's definitely better than a random dude doing things. So yeah, check this out if you want. Just turn your brain off. You'll enjoy it. Just watch
Okay.
the cool fights. 8 out of 10.
All all right. Well, anyways, thank you, Toast, for that review of Reborn to Master the Blade. Again, done by Studio Comet, light novel original.